Okay, yeah, because the initial intro, wasn't so much necessary. Yeah, yeah, to be prepared for the negative reactions. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you've gone through some of the material that is, the supportive material that is in the resources section of the site has, a lot of additional content and is designed to help you address some of the questions you may have. Unfortunately, it's not, well, not for you, Barb, because you're a French speaker, but I was going to say it's for sure in French. It's not always translated into English. For example, what they call the MOOC, massive online course, whatever. I was looking at some videos the past few days, and they were only available in French.
Huh.
And yeah, because some of those videos were, yeah, really going into more detail into some explanations. And in so doing, they were mentioning some things that people might say, where they might say, for example, well, yeah, but that doesn't take into account the fact that the rays from the sun, the intensity of the rays can vary depending on the spots on the sun or something like that. And what the person was saying is that the accounting, the CO2 and the warming accounting integrates all these natural phenomena, right? And we're just talking about the net impact of natural versus human created warming. So this is all included in the accounting of the climate risk.
The forcing function card actually has solar variation on it. So
Yes, exactly,
if you ever
exactly.
get down to that level, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But few people, take the time to look at the detail of that
Yeah.
card. Yeah, but it's good for you to know in case you get this remark that you can say, well, of course, this is all taken into account.
For my
Yeah.
session with my in-laws, I took away four of the cards, the four Bose
Yeah,
complex cards, and that was a good thing I did.
yeah, yeah.
It went a
That's
lot faster. And in
yeah.
each press that I do, I try to follow up if there's somebody's made a comment like my daughter said, I didn't know that rice
Yeah,
emitted methane.
yeah.
So I'm going to follow up with a little write-up.
Ah,
We had a
okay.
big discussion on methane from animals. And we
Yeah.
went into the ruminants and all that kind of stuff. And I've just yesterday got an email from a Canadian National Observer on Canada's policy of what they're trying to do to reduce methane from beef cattle.
Okay.
And I'm more than willing to share that. I was going to send this out to all of my freskers, not just the
Yeah.
ones that are at the
Yeah.
previous one,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
keep it alive, right?
That's a great idea, Don. That's
Yeah,
super. That's really what I find is missing from the fresk, and I personally don't have enough time to do that. I would love to do more. I guess the equivalent of a newsletter, right? Something every 2 weeks or something to
yeah.
stay in touch with a mix of upcoming fresks, news from the community, and news, as you were saying, like science-based news, to increase your knowledge.
I'm going to
I
try to relate it to cards specifically, right?
Right.
So,
Yes. Yes. No, that's a great idea.
yeah,
That's super. Yeah, yeah. If you start, doing that, I could even it's not the same, of course, because but still, if you send it to me, I can even forward it to the people I've been in touch with, sort of as a intermediary step towards maybe sometime in the future a formal newsletter, to keep in
mhm.
touch with people, because that's really something that I find is missing is how we maintain the relationship with the people who we have reached with the fresk.
Yeah.
um, uh, you know,
Caroline, do they have a
yeah,
model for that in Quebec or in
no,
France? No.
No, in France, no, not that I know of. I only
Interesting.
get a newsletter as a facilitator. No, that's what I mean. You know, communications in France is really the parent pauvre, as you say in French. It's not
Mhm.
considered versus
Right.
North America,
I
where
was gonna,
communications
yeah,
is
I was
key.
gonna go
Yeah.
to the offices just to kind of have a look at the cards for the kids version and stuff like
Yeah.
that when I'm
Okay.
there. And
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
you know,
do. Yeah.
yeah,
They'll be
I'll
happy
probably
to see you
attend, I'll probably attend a fresque or two when I'm there,
there.
just,
Yeah.
to practice my French, but also just to see how it rolls there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. And you can
Mhm.
also maybe connect with one or two facilitators there, which is also always nice. You know, to know the people behind the names on Telegram, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
so something that's come up more than once for me, when I'm just speaking to people generally, sometimes at the fresque and then just sometimes in conversation. What do you say to the people who say, well, Canada's such a small country. Oh, sure, we can modify our behavior, but really, what difference is it going to make when you have, huge powers like China that,
yeah,
are not
yeah,
are not
yeah,
embracing the change, although I
yeah.
understand they are embracing the change.
They
I don't
are.
know truth, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, so there's a good information on that on the, I believe it's the wiki, the climate card wiki, or anyway, one of these tools in the resources, which gives you information on accumulated emissions from developed countries since the 1850s. So the answer is yes, we may be a smaller country, but as you all know, because I think I showed you those figures during your fresque before the debrief, before the actions part. Canada is a major emitter per person, right? It's got a 20-ton equivalent CO2 emissions level versus China, which is at maybe 7 or 8. So of course the Chinese are many more, and they're so but per person, Canada has a huge footprint, carbon footprint, and also has had one for much longer than China. So our accumulated image. So basically, we owe a debt. Basically, if we want to do the proper thing, we created the mess that we're in with it that we're in today, not China. So the U.S., Europe, Canada. We're the ones responsible for it. So should we clean up our mess or just say it's not my problem? So that's one answer. And the other answer that I often give is, you know, these developing countries, we call them developing because they're trying to copy our model of development. So if all of a sudden we change our patterns, our behavior patterns, they may want to change them too. So basically, not only are we responsible, we're role models for the developing world. So
Mhm.
as role models, what we do has an impact over there. So, and thirdly, as you were saying, China has already pivoted. It's still using coal quite a bit, but it's investing hugely in renewables. So, the I was going to say management there, the leadership there has really decided to pivot to a cleaner energy production, unlike in Canada, unfortunately, where our leadership has not decided to pivot at all. So, I mean, so those are the three kinds of answers you could give. There's
There's,
not, yeah,
I would give some of those, but in addition, I mean, Canada, uh, I don't think the per capita stuff flies with people, but Canada's 1.3% of global emissions. China's about 30%.
yeah,
But you gotta, who are you comparing yourself against? It's important to look at what the US is doing,
yeah.
our closest trading partner, and they're about, with the Inflation Reduction Act, are gonna have a 37% reduction in greenhouse gases or model by 2030. And if you don't keep up with your closest neighbor, you'll be left sitting on the porch.
Mm, mm,
So I think that's the kind of argument that helped me. I mean, these kind of people you may not convince at all. I mean, I heard the premier of New Brunswick espousing that kind of argument. Why bother, right? But if you don't, the other argument I use is 40% of global emissions isn't from the big five. We're one of the 40%, and if all of us have to do our part
Yeah.
on the remaining 40% to get to where we need to get. So
Yeah, basically that I think that's a good way to put it. We have to do our part, and even though the figure you give in terms of percentage of global emissions, if you took it since 1850, it's much more. So basically, as we know, carbon accumulates in the atmosphere. So today's emissions are nothing compared to past emissions. So if we really did our percentage over, the past almost 200 years, we would have a much larger share of responsibility. And also, it's just the future. I mean, if you want a future for your children, you can't say, well, it's not my problem, right? You have to, as you say, take part, be a part of the solution, not the problem. It's also, from an economical point of view, it's the future in terms of technology. So if you want to be a leader, a world leader in terms of energy production, you should and also just housing, efficiency. If you want to be on what's going to be developing in terms of new products and services, if you want to export, then you better be in the what's going to be wanted in the future, not in the past, right? So
Mhm.
even from an
Yeah.
economical point of view, it makes sense to pivot, right? Just
Well,
makes sense.
when I was speaking with, and again, as I said, it was yesterday's meeting in particular, a couple of the young people, I definitely touched on some of those points, but so the only thing I said was, well, then if you were going to take action, if you had
Yeah.
decided
Right,
it
right.
was worthwhile taking action, what would those actions be?
Nice. Yeah,
Just to
yeah.
sort of be
To
able to get
get over the
some
hurdle.
constructive
Yeah.
answer out and be able to move,
Right.
move the meeting along. But yeah.
What I'm thinking. I like your way of getting past the objections that you were getting. Another way to put it might be, what if you had no choice? What if, oil, that we had no more oil,
Yeah.
What if
Yeah.
in 40 or 50 years,
Yeah.
we had, or it became so expensive to extract oil in Canada because we've exploited all of the tar sands, and now we have to go deeper and deeper, or in something more complicated. What if it just didn't make any more sense economically, so we didn't have oil anymore? What would you do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it
And
could happen, right?
yeah, and ultimately, there are only so many people's minds that will be changed, for the most part.
Yeah.
But I think as I see myself anyways moving into the more public realm, like the library, I think it's important to
Yes.
be prepared for
Yeah.
different points of view that way. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
I agree.
You're not
Um,
likely to have somebody coming to a fresque that has zero buy-in on climate change and zero intention of changing anything. They came because they're interested in knowing about something,
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, yes. So I want to make sure also, I think these are useful to share. I was really alone the first year, and I always was reaching out to people in the US or people in France to try and improve, because, we do have limited support from the association to help improve ourselves. And I guess you have to do a lot of digging, in the resources page. And if it's only in French, then it's, of course, a bit more complicated than, but it does take some digging to find some of those answers, that we were talking about. And also, of course, some customization to the Canadian situation, as Don pointed out. Some of those answers are good, like compared to the US, etc. Those are good ideas to customize. But I want to make sure we address some of the points that Kriti wanted to address, which were, so we covered. So basically, no, before I do that, I just want to ask if any of you was ready or thinking of planning a public fresque in person, ideally, either in Toronto or in Ottawa. Are any of you ready for that yet?
The answer is almost yes. I have a location.
Okay, yeah.
And I tried to follow up and she said, don't bug me until the season's over, right? Till the new year.
Okay.
But a very receptive person, and she runs a catering / restaurant, and there's an upstairs. And part of the way I'm pitching it is,
Yeah.
I just need a couple of tables, as you do in
Yeah.
creds, right? I just need a couple of tables. That's, so I will be minimally intrusive.
Yeah.
And so I think and my hope is I'm going to go for I like to do one a week.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, wow.
And go big, but I don't know, it's not my place, right?
Yeah. If you do at least one every 2 weeks, I would consider that exceptional.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
great already.
And just because of the holidays, there's also our local community center that I haven't really quite reached out to them yet.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I'm also even thinking when I meet people, say, well, they'd make a really good facilitator.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When I get some public ones going, why don't you come? I'm already thinking about who we can bring into the fold.
on board.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's great. Yeah.
I think
Yeah, go ahead.
Dorothy's had a really encouraging interaction. It looks like she's going to liaise with people from the city of Toronto and
yeah.
likely the U of T Scarborough campus, as it just, bizarrely happened.
Yeah.
She attended a board meeting, and it turned out that one of the members of the board had been in Dubai during, I don't know if he was attending COP28 or if he just
Yeah.
happened to be there at the same time, but he himself had attended a fresque in Dubai, a huge fresque, and
Yeah.
was very, very positive. So
Yeah.
she's not going to have any problem with venues. So her I think next focus is going, I shouldn't speak to Dorothy, but for
Yeah.
Dorothy, but I think that her focus is now going to be how to figure out how to bring people to the fresque.
Yeah.
She's solved the venue problem. Now, it's going to be about the recruiting.
Yeah, that's an issue when it's in person, because online it's true that it's not so difficult to fill online fresques, because there are people around the world who know about the fresque and who are looking for one. So online is not so much of an issue. It's actually more challenging in Toronto or in Ottawa. Even though now, after the Toronto Star article, I wanted to tell you that I've had 2 people contact the fresque in Canada after the article. So
Oh, great.
who are quite involved, who are people who are already like climate activists and who are interested in using it as a tool. Yeah. So
Oh, great. Great. Well,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
around until the 19th. If there's something, I can easily put together another home one, but
Yeah.
I think probably my time is better spent trying to get things at least to a certain point now with the library before I head out. What I was thinking is Earth Day is towards the end of April. It might be a really interesting goal to see if we could get something substantial going in Toronto for that.
Ottawa, probably. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty, where
No,
are
definitely
you?
that was on my to-do, is to think about Earth Day. And actually
Yeah.
with the city of Toronto was my preferred way to proceed, to see if we could do something together with them, because I'm sure they're going to be thinking of events for that week. It's
Yes.
Earth Day, but it's really over a full week, right? Generally.
Pretty, where are you geographically?
Yeah, where are you, Pretty?
I'm in Guelph, which
Oh,
is
right. Yeah.
not too far from Toronto, but the
No.
public transport from here is
Yeah.
very limited. It's only during
Yes.
office hours.
Yeah.
And so it becomes really hard to come into Toronto in the
Yes.
evenings.
Yeah,
to do fresks.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, if,
definitely.
you know, I mean, I'm sure there's a great community in Guelph if we do something joint, almost like jointly in terms of promoting Earth Day and having a fresco or whatever, I'm sure you could promote it and have them in Guelph, right? There must
Yeah.
be a
Yeah, I
great
think
community.
that's a great idea. And I know that our mayor was at COP28, and there was one
Oh,
other person who was
Wow.
posting on LinkedIn from there. So I'm hoping to
really?
reach out to them in the new year
Yeah.
and see if
Yeah,
they would
and
be open.
I wonder if the Arboretum would consider, you know, offering up their space as a potential venue.
Great
Um,
idea.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that takes just a lot of all these ideas. We all have all these ideas, and then it's a question of either knowing someone inside, which makes it easier, or
mhm,
drafting the right email, following up with phone calls. That's the
mhm.
the sort of thing that I've been thinking about a lot for universities to now connect with your question about CECOs, climate education kickoffs. This barbaric name that I don't like at all myself. But I would say, and actually in discussions with Climate First USA, because initially I was talking with them a lot to try and get support and insights into best practices. Um, one person who is actually a teacher, a professor in the U.S., said that she found the name a little bit misleading because she said, well, first of all, it seems to say that the university is not doing any climate education, which, is not the case most of the time. And it's not really a kickoff. It's more of like an engagement. It's like a climate fe- fest or something. It's like a large scale climate fresk, on campus, but it's not really a kickoff. I guess the term kickoff is supposed to mean that it's going to start people thinking differently, and then all the classes that follow after that event, they're going to see things differently. I guess that's what they meant. But so basically, yeah, the Climate First kickoff is the idea that they've been doing it in a number of schools in France, and I think in the UK more and more, is to reach hundreds of students at one time with tens of facilitators and make it a real engaging and large event to really give it visibility on campus. And so some of the advice that I got from other people who put this together is that, well, often it starts with a professor inside. So usually someone in the School of Environment. It's going to start from someone who's already quite obviously concerned about this. And if I do the parallel with my small experience in Canada with the University of Ottawa, uh, you know, uh, the Fresk in Canada was contacted by this professor in the School of Medicine who studies the impact of climate change on illnesses both in Canada and around the world. So, and she had done a fresk in with her French colleagues, and so she knew about the fresk, and so she was looking for the fresk. And I did try to expand from that. So I asked her, could you connect me with the people on campus who look at sustainability? Because U Ottawa presents itself as a quite sustainable campus. It really puts that forth in its website, etc. And so I said, so there's a whole committee on sustainability. There's someone in charge of sustainability on campus. And I reached out to those people a number of times via email. I tried calling. I never got a reply. So I haven't been able to expand from that one professor.
That was the group that we did. That was,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah. That was that group. Yeah. So, and so the idea when you do a climate fest, when you try to do a climate fest kickoff, is you start generally with a teacher that you know, that someone has a connection with inside and that is supporting the effort. And often, you will have, as we did, a small version first for maybe 14 people, and then you try to have a another version that is more for staff. So, in the small version, we were lucky because what happened is, when we do a fresque, generally in anything that's not a public setting, there's a minimum number of participants. It's designed for 14 minimum. And then you add multiples of 7 from that. So you start with 14 and then you add 7, etc. And so I said, I'm coming in for 14 participants, whatever happens. And so a few days later, she contacted me and said, oh, some of the students are not going to be coming, so we're going to be less than 14. I said, well, that's not going to change the fee, the small fee that I'm going to be charging. And it's so try and fill it up as much as you can. So that's the idea with the 14 figure, is you say it's for 14 minimum. It's not going to be for less, And that way she asked some staff members to join who were not initially going to do the fresque. So it was good because there were students, there were, three professors, but then there were also staff members, like administrative staff. And that's what you want to do to be able to get to a larger scale, is you have to have staff members participate. So that's the second step, is often to reach staff members with a fresque. And then you try to put together this larger scale version. But apparently past experience shows that it's taken as much as 6 months to be able to get to that final point. And the issue, of course, is the duration, the 3-hour duration. So with the U Ottawa professor, she did not find it an issue because her lectures are a total of 3 hours. So it was fine with her. With other courses where they don't have students for that long, it could be an issue. So the other moment when it might be good to think about putting together this large scale fresque event for students and teachers is during what is it called, Frosh Week, like orientation.
Yeah.
It can be really a way to welcome the students, to connect them as well. So that is another avenue, I think, to explore, when talking about the fresque to universities. And finally, I miss a lot of communications material. I don't have good communications material to send to universities. I don't have anything that I can use. So I've started working on a brochure, using Canva, um, which maybe some of you know. And it's supposed to be like I use a Canva template for a trifold, a three uh, folded brochure. And so it has two sides. And so far I've done one side, and I made it just a one side PDF that I can send. So I'll share the link with you. um, I put it up on Proton Drive, so I'll just share the link now. It doesn't have any, so, and I guess, I don't know if Quiddy, you had some more questions about this, but yeah, maybe I can listen to your questions and see if I can help answer any of those, or
Sure.
what you had in mind when you were asking about SECO.
Um, yeah, so I didn't have any specific questions. I guess I was just thinking of how can we bring this to our universities and schools? Because I live in Guelph, it's a university town. Waterloo's close by. There's plenty of colleges, and I thought this was a great way to get students engaged.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I found a Google spreadsheet somewhere on the drive which said there are a bunch of British Columbia universities that people have already reached out to. And so I was wondering if there was like a template we could follow or learnings from previous exercises that we could
Okay.
incorporate.
You said universities in British Columbia? Is that what you
Yeah.
said?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about this spreadsheet.
Yeah, I saw it because Critty recommended to me, right?
Ah,
So, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I can
Okay.
send it to you on Telegram, Caroline. I just need to
Yeah.
look it up, but
Yeah,
I know it's
maybe
there.
Sunday. Yeah, I don't know who put that together. Maybe it's from Alois, who is in BC. Maybe at
Yes,
one
that
point he was active. He tried to reach out. Now, I have never been able to speak to Alois for over the past year and a half, and I don't know what he's up to over in BC. Like, I don't see any public press in BC, so
Mhm.
I don't know if this was a while ago or what, but there is no Canada tool at this point
Okay.
to reach out to universities, but definitely that's a good 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 idea. The only thing is, as I said, if you don't, given our limited resources, because I think Critty, you're working full time as well, right?
Not
Are you
anymore. I'm working
Oh, I
full
see.
time on doing the Fresk full time.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's good. Because really, I mean, I wouldn't want you to all to get discouraged. I think it's really the thing that we could think about together is what connections we may have within various universities versus sending out, an email or something that I started drafting. I started thinking about that, so I can share that with you as well, where basically I sent the New York Times article, and now I can add the Toronto Star article. um, um, I'm still finalizing a video that I'm still trying to put together with this videographer of a citizen fest that we did in Toronto. So basically, I'm trying to build up, a bit of communications material that I can use to accompany, generic, cold communication efforts. But the best bet for us right now is really to think of how maybe what connections we have in the school and the environment generally, or maybe someone in the sustainability department who can be interested in, first, as I was saying, doing a small scale version, then expanding slowly to a larger scale version. Um, yeah, I think that's the best bet right now, given where we are. So I'm trying to find the chat. Where's my chat tool?
Hi, sorry, I have some thoughts.
Yes, yes, yes,
When,
Kate, go ahead. I'm
when you
sorry.
talk about Canadian universities, hi, I'm Kate. I'm in Toronto too. Barbara, are you in Toronto? I'm
Yeah,
confused.
Broadview and Danforth.
Yep. Uh, oh my gosh, we probably walk by each other. I'm at Broadview and Mortimer.
Oh, well then let's have coffee. Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, you're 5 minutes away. We could go to the
Yeah,
market tomorrow. We could go to Evergreen.
well, I'm actually not there for the next 3 months,
Oh,
but normally,
okay.
normally I am there.
You too. Okay.
I'm also out, but sorry, so that's I'm interested in everything that's happening here. But so for the university, so for Critty, actually, I was thinking about Guelph, and there's this company that does home insulation assessment, but it's for environmental reasons. And I think you should contact them to just do like a fresco or online or something, or they might even want to do it in person. I'm just going to put it in the chat.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
Emerge,
that so
they
that
do some.
that's
I just had a home audit done, and the guy who did the home audit, he's one of the guys I've signed up to be a facilitator. So he was really, really good. And the thing is that the heat pump rebates are maybe going away in March. And I thought, well, if you're looking for a job or an opportunity to do stuff, so anyway, so we'll see what happens.
all right. Yeah, nice.
So
Really, I didn't
sorry,
know.
but relating to universities,
Yes.
um, there I don't know about most universities, but U of T has they call it a sustainability office, and
Yeah.
it's they reach out to students, and they also reach out to their staff, because when I worked at U of T, I worked at U of T like 7 years ago.
Mm.
Um, they would do events for staff and students.
Yeah.
And to me, everything you're talking about with the fresque is really something that you'd want to do with a sustainability office,
Yeah.
these engagement offices.
Yeah.
So like, I don't think I would call professors, and I would call these sustainability offices. The other thing that's
Well,
interesting about,
yeah, I was
oh,
just
you first.
telling you how it started in a lot of universities. It didn't start so
Okay.
much from the sustainability office. It
Yeah.
started from a motivated professor, is how it's happened generally in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and so, sorry, my other thought was they're all these sustainability offices, they're like on Instagram. So you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I would be
Yeah.
surprised if they weren't following fresque
Well,
stuff.
they don't know if they don't know about it. I don't think they would
Yeah.
follow the fresque. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, you could like comment on their stuff on the
Yeah.
Instagram and be like, hey, we could do a fresque for you, just, you know, to start warming them up. I was
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
even thinking that um because I noticed Critty's best participants are people who are in the environmental sphere, you know, even like volunteers for organizations. And I was thinking I should call like Seneca because it's the one that's close to me.
Mm.
And I'd be interested in calling U of T's sustainability office and just offering to do a fresque for them, for just the office people.
Yeah,
Because,
I think we should coordinate on this if you don't mind, especially for U of T, which is like a big university, because already I think Dorothy, apparently Barb was saying Dorothy has some sort of connection with U of T,
yeah.
Well, it's
so
So just
Barb,
FYI,
it's
because
Scarborough
they were
campus.
talking about,
Yeah.
sorry.
yeah,
So they were talking about her doing a Scarborough campus, and that is like a completely different campus
Mm-hmm.
than the downtown campus.
I,
So you're
I
talking to,
yeah,
you're going to be
I
talking to
think.
people that don't really talk to each other.
Right, right. But
So
what I mean is sometimes it helps if you say when you contact the other campus, if you say, the Scarborough campus has already started offering the fresco or is looking into it. That's what I mean. And
yeah,
I don't know if you know anyone at U of T in
yeah.
sustainability or
Well,
yeah.
so I did do volunteering with the sustainability office, but I'm not really
Okay.
sure because it was 7 years ago
Yeah.
if the people
Yeah.
who I knew were
Yeah.
there still.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I definitely know one of the people left, but
Right.
I'd be
Right.
curious
Right.
to, and also because Critty and I do Talk Climate, which is a Toronto thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that there's U of T connections through Talk Climate,
Okay.
this women's course we
Okay.
take.
Yeah.
So
Well, let's see. Now, if you want to think about, because this could also be a separate discussion on reaching education, because we already are out of time. It seems that we always have so much to say. Um, that's what they do in the US. They have a separate discussion for the education portion. So if you want to convene again, like in a couple weeks or something, and to brainstorm more on some efforts, maybe an email template, that we can use so that we sort of have a coordinated approach to this, and we're not just all branching out in our initial individual initiatives. And also there's a common language and a common offer for the climate fresque in Canada or in Ontario. I did want to end with, you know, the pricing issue. So basically, in France, probably that's the reason it's been so successful. The climate risk in education. I have the barème, the pricing that they use, it's really quite inexpensive. It's really, and as a facilitator, you're again almost a volunteer. I think when a university requests a fresque and asks the association, then they look for facilitators, and you're paid like €100 for the 3 hour for the fresk. So it's, you know, between the time you're going to spend to go there and come back and the preparation, you know, it can be 5 hours. So it's really just a small compensation for your time. In the US, of course, they have a tradition of charging much more because they argue that, you know, there's no social security, no safety net. And so for facilitators to come out, you know, it really, you know, depends that they, you know, they have a way to finance their health care, et cetera, et cetera. So in the US, they have much higher prices. So far, what I've done is I have not offered it free of charge to education. I've priced it at $15 per participant. So it's quite inexpensive, but it's not free. And that way I give 10% to the climate fresk as we're supposed to. And it pays a little bit of supplies and just whatever, because, you know, universities in Canada are not, you know, that poor. You know, they're not like in France where they're state subsidized, and they have limited means, you know, they really have very small budgets. You know, in North America, universities are a money making machine. So you know, I find it normal that there is some sort of compensation. I don't know what you all think, if you have any feedback on this, on the pricing issue. TC.
I'm waiting just in the public for us, not Lone Universities, is to see what we get for free and don't have to
Yeah.
charge for, right? But I think I like the Eventbrite idea as well too,
Yeah,
as a way to circumvent, and then you can take 10% off whatever you've taken in, and then send a climate fresk.
yeah. Well, you know, for universities, we don't even set up an Eventbrite. We don't need to, because it's, you know, an agreement with the university, so it's not publicized at all, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Okay, sorry, here's my question. I thought we had to do a certain number before we could charge anyhow. Do you know what I mean?
okay,
Like,
no, that's true. I'm past that stage. You're right. Yes, I've done the public fresk, and I'm talking about being the orange belt. You have to be an orange belt to do the university ones. Yes, I'm sorry, I should have
Right,
said
right.
that. That's right. Yeah. Okay. I guess maybe we should end it there if you're all right. Yeah. And we can meet again.
So just one question. If I've got stuff to forward, can I just use email? I think I've got all your email addresses because it's
Yes.
easier for me just to forward
No,
stuff, and yeah,
I agree. And that way we can forward it to the ones that we reached out
right.
to for the fresk. That's
And
great.
one
Yes.
other thing that would be useful is somebody showed up from Canmore. Who are they? And part of it is I had to ask Kriti too, where she is, because, you know, I know people in Guelph. I mean, we're building up a network, and the more we know where people are located, the more we can send work their way or whatever, right? So that would be an interesting
Addition.
Excel spreadsheet.
Well, either spreadsheet, or I wonder if there's a way, you know what, next to our names on Telegram, is there just a way to put where we are? That would be much simpler
Oh,
than
yeah,
the
yeah.
spreadsheet.
That would be
So-
extremely useful, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's a great suggestion. Let's see if we can do that, if we can modify our names on Telegram.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, well, nice to see you, and talk to you again soon.
Bonne année.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Yeah, see you soon. Bye-bye.